you ever felt like someone is trying to blend in a little too much? She first spoke to me on a sweltering summer morning as I sat, squashed into a bus seat, my face dripping with sweat. She was an oasis of grace and elegance in the mundane chaos of the morning commute. Tall and lithe, she appeared to be in her late 20s. Her attire was angelic. A pair of beautiful cross-shaped earrings dangled from her ears. Her ankle-length white skirt gracefully split on the side to reveal a glimpse of her porcelain skin, and a delicate white lace sleeveless blouse completed her ethereal ensemble. Her hair, a shade of rich brown, cascaded down her back in a perfect French braid, with bangs framing her serene face. As she settled beside me, she maintained a posture of pristine poise, her hands resting flat on her legs. She spoke, her voice a soft, nearly inaudible whisper that held a peculiar allure. "Why bring a shawl in weather like this?" she asked, her perceptive gaze noting the piece of fabric draped over my shoulders. It was an astute observation. My workplace adhered to a strict dress code that demanded modest formal wear. I reluctantly wrapped myself in a dark blue knee-length dress and wore the shawl, as required by my employer. The Arizona sun was relentless, causing me to shed the shawl during the bus journey, only to put it back on before entering the office. The attire left me feeling like a character from a 1950s household magazine. "My workplace enforces a strict dress code," I replied. Her response was a question, uttered in a calm monotone, yet with a slightly raised pitch. "Your work requires a shawl? Do you work at a nunnery?" The question left me feeling slightly uneasy. How could I describe the place I worked at? I served as a paralegal at a well-known evangelical legal advocacy group. It was one of those so-called advocacy groups that drafted bills for state legislatures, possessed seemingly endless resources, and had murky connections. I had secured the job not out of alignment with their ideology, but simply due to the attractive salary and my impression of Mike Green, the general manager, who appeared as a genuinely kind-hearted individual. Though he was overtly evangelical, he didn't mind my lack of religious fervor as long as I adhered to the rules. While I didn't necessarily endorse all the group's activities, my role was relatively benign. I handled case research, filed paperwork, drafted motions, and performed routine tasks, steering clear of the political machinations. Yet, I hesitated to disclose my workplace to others, fearing that they'd see me as an embodiment of the same dark money authoritarianism that steered the organization. But something about the woman's appearance, her posture, her aura, hinted at her potential evangelical leanings, so I decided to risk the truth. "I work at a religious freedom legal advocacy group. I'm just a paralegal, though. I push papers around," I confessed. Her initial frown transformed into a subtle grin, which intrigued me. "Do you enjoy your job?" she inquired further. Typically, I would have offered a generic response like, "It's all right," to navigate the small talk. However, there was an enigmatic quality about her that compelled me to respond honestly. "I appreciate the pay, and my boss is affable, but some of the attorneys we work with can be quite rigid," I replied. This piqued her interest. "Define rigid," she urged. Her tone remained kind but assertive, and an indomitable presence surrounded her, making honesty the only viable option. I proceeded to explain how the attorneys often treated paralegals like children, deriving satisfaction from lecturing female staff about their life choices. Nevertheless, they excelled at their jobs, boasting an 80% success rate in cases. Mike Green, the general manager and stand-in for the less-than-savory CEO, adeptly maintained harmony and ensured that the attorney's behavior didn't affect the rest of the staff. As I recounted my experiences, she used her right hand to adjust her earrings and hair while keeping her piercing gaze on me. Her right hand sparkled with a variety of rings, each adorned with different colors and rainbow-painted nails. 2 exquisite bracelets graced her wrist. Whenever my attention began to waver, she would lightly place her hand on the seat in front of me, effortlessly drawing my focus back to her. My narrative transitioned to her as I inquired, "What about you? What do you do?" Her response, delivered in a calm tone, was simple and enigmatic. "I'm heading downtown." I found this reply evasive, prompting me to press for more information. "Oh, I think this is your stop," she suddenly declared. I nodded and murmured a quick thanks before hastily disembarking the bus, fearing I might miss my stop. Little did I know that this seemingly innocuous sentence would become a harbinger of darkness. After all, I hadn't disclosed my workplace, so how did she know which stop was mine? As soon as I stepped off the bus, disaster struck. A careless movement sent my briefcase tumbling, its contents scattering on the sidewalk. This was especially vexing because I always secured my briefcase, equipped with a double 4-digit combination lock. It contained my personal laptop and a collection of seemingly inconsequential paperwork related to work. I had opened the lock with a bobby pin once before when I had forgotten the combination, so the malfunction didn't surprise me. I managed to recover most of the scattered paperwork, though 3 pages from a lengthy correspondence between our retiring secretary and a hiring agency, which I had copied for her months prior, remained missing. Despite this minor setback, I continued on with my day, thinking little of it. At that point, nothing seemed amiss. 3 weeks elapsed before a revelation would shatter the facade of normality. When I entered the office one fateful day, a new face greeted me, a young woman with the name tag Lyudmila Belova. Her name struck a vague chord in my memory, but I couldn't place it. Strikingly, she wore the same outfit she had worn during our encounter on the bus, minus the striking adornments on her hand. I also couldn't help but notice that her attire failed to adhere to our office's stringent dress code. Her shoulders lay bare, yet nobody seemed to take issue with it. The newcomer, Lyudmila Belova, swiftly demonstrated her prowess in her role. She effortlessly fulfilled the demands of the job, as if she had been preparing for this position all her life. Our elderly secretary, normally a bitter figure, tried to assist in her training, but it became apparent that Lyudmila required little instruction. She exhibited excellence in her secretarial duties and carried herself with genuine kindness. I suppressed the nagging memory of our initial interaction and began to enjoy the benefits of a competent and affable front desk. However, a lingering sense of unease persisted beneath the surface. Days turned into weeks, during which Lyudmila's wardrobe remained consistent, seemingly oblivious to the office's strict dress code. Her shoulders remained exposed, a transgression that would have been a fireable offense for anyone else. While I pondered possible explanations, such as a dermatological condition or a special exception granted due to the heat wave, I refrained from confronting my superiors over what I considered a petty matter. Yet, an insidious curiosity gnawed at my thoughts. I tried on multiple occasions to engage her in casual conversation, but she consistently maintained a reserved demeanor. Although she enthusiastically addressed work-related questions with elaborate explanations, she steadfastly avoided divulging anything about her personal life. Her eloquence occasionally veered into deflection, a tactic I didn't notice until it was too late. I found myself steering the conversation towards her, hoping to unravel the enigma that was Lyudmila Belova. "What about you? What do you do outside of work?" I asked with genuine interest. "I'm headed downtown," she replied, her answer as enigmatic as ever. Sensing my persistence, she abruptly stated, "Oh, I think this is your stop." I hurriedly thanked her and disembarked, troubled by the inexplicable accuracy of her remark. An unsettling realization took root. I had never shared my workplace's location during our conversations. Yet how did she pinpoint my stop with such uncanny precision? As days turned into weeks, the normal routine of office life persisted. The fax machines, however, began to fail inexplicably. One by one, they malfunctioned for different reasons. A misplaced ink cartridge, a screen failure, a damaged cable. Consequently, a portion of the staff had to walk a few blocks to send out the necessary documents. The office fridge followed suit, prompting us to order food deliveries. Unfortunately, these meals failed to cater to everyone's dietary requirements, prompting interns to embark on food runs. The coffee maker, our reliable ally in early mornings, began spewing coffee grounds due to a damaged gasket. Thus, interns were additionally tasked with the role of barista. Lyudmila, resourceful as ever, initiated orders for replacements, citing supply chain disruptions caused by the ongoing heat wave. Her explanation was plausible, yet I couldn't help but wonder if these seemingly unrelated issues were coordinated. I afforded her the benefit of the doubt, chalking it up to a series of coincidental mishaps. This orchestrated chaos, however, reduced the number of people in the office at any given time. Mike Green, the general manager, my 2 paralegal colleagues, 2 persistent attorneys, our secretary, and 2 security officers remained. Though the situation was overwhelming, I managed to navigate through my tasks, maintaining a semblance of calm. One day, by sheer accident, I stumbled upon a sight that shattered my perception of Mike Green. As I passed by his ajar office door, I witnessed a scene that transformed my once idealized image of him into something far more sinister. He was caressing Lyudmila's leg, their faces etched with an intimacy that repulsed me. She whispered something inaudible, then left his office abruptly. Disgust and empathy churned within me. My repulsion stemmed not only from Mike's reprehensible actions, but from the realization that he had hired Lyudmila for reasons beyond her qualifications. Her attire, her appearance, they had all been calculated to cater to his desires. As I processed this betrayal, a new surge of empathy consumed me for our enigmatic secretary. In a few fleeting moments, my preconceived notions about religious culture crumbled. A burning desire to warn Mike about Lyudmila's motives consumed me. Regardless of his inappropriate behavior, I dreaded to think of the malevolent intentions that might lie beneath her facade. I confronted him, my voice quivering. "She's the Antichrist." He arched an eyebrow, skepticism etched on his face. "Take the day off," he replied, his tone laced with disbelief. I realized how irrational I sounded and retreated. At home, my mind raced. Lyudmila Belova. I scoured the internet for any relevant information. A chilling revelation awaited me. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a renowned Ukrainian sniper from World War II, boasted over 300 confirmed kills, her maiden name Belova. A shiver ran down my spine as I contemplated the implications. What connection did this Lyudmila Belova have with our office? Why had she infiltrated an organization dedicated to religious freedom? The puzzle pieces eluded my grasp, but an inescapable sense of foreboding tightened its grip. I attempted to alert the police, only to be dismissed as delusional. My attempts to contact Mike, the attorneys, anyone, were met with laughter or mockery. It was ironic. A supposedly evangelical organization showed no willingness to entertain the idea of a demonic infiltrator. All I could do was hope that her intentions were long-term, her plans drawn out. I held on to that hope, convincing myself that time was on my side. If I had known then what I know now, I might have realized that time was the very thing I was running out of. And the truth that would eventually unravel was far more sinister than I could have ever imagined. Days turned into a haunting tapestry of uncertainty. Lyudmila's flawless execution of her job responsibilities overshadowed any lingering doubts I had about her. She seamlessly juggled the myriad tasks of her role, masking her underlying motives beneath a veneer of competence. Meanwhile, the unease that had initially accompanied her arrival began to fade into the background, buried beneath the demands of the office. It was an ordinary morning when everything changed. As the office buzzed with its customary activity, the sunlit atmosphere belied the darkness that was about to descend. The fax machines remained functional, the fridge hummed with life, and the coffee maker sputtered out its familiar aroma. Lyudmila sat at her desk, the crucifix earrings glinting in the fluorescent light. Then, a single gunshot shattered the veneer of normalcy. The reports that followed echoed like the tolling of a sinister bell. 4 more gunshots, each a deep cadence followed by a 5th, with a shallower note, then 3 more. A symphony of violence that resonated through the office, slicing through the mundane routine. As the cacophony of destruction settled into an eerie silence, panic seized the remnants of the office's inhabitants. I heard desperate banging on the supply room door, a futile attempt to escape the horrors that had befallen our once familiar workspace. Overwhelmed with terror, I listened as one of the attorneys screamed, "No!" 4 more shots followed, deep cadences that sealed the fates of those within. Minutes stretched into an eternity as screams waned, sirens blared, and a surreal sense of unreality enveloped the scene. When the police eventually found me, unharmed but bound, they immediately launched into their inquiries. Their questions focused on what I had witnessed, each response a gut-wrenching confirmation of the inevitable. Mike Green, the kind facade he had worn, was now gone, extinguished by Lyudmila's malevolence. The security room, once a sanctuary, had become her hunting ground. She had dispatched the guards, her own body bearing the scar of a gunshot wound. But she had pressed on, ending the lives of the 2 attorneys, driven by a relentless determination. Only her own injury halted her rampage. Her true identity was revealed. Vanessa Preston, a name that sent shivers down my spine. Her criminal history painted a macabre picture. Pickpocketing, shoplifting, assault. animal cruelty, the portrait of a predator lurking beneath the mask of normalcy. My attempts to warn others had been in vain. The police linked her to other killings, a trail of blood that betrayed her gruesome inclinations. Her enigmatic presence in our office had been a prelude to this horrific climax. As the truth unfurled, my belief in the sanctity of organizations shattered. The revelation of the office's true nature was a devastating blow to my religious convictions and my trust in the legal system. And the haunting image that persisted was that of Lyudmila's eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, concealed beneath an outwardly appealing visage.